5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to the Selfmaker Show. This is your host, Conor Lynch. Hi Conor, how are you today?
Very well, Conor, and yourself?
Very, very good. So you've got a very aptly titled business.
I do indeed. Yeah, so basically I'm Conor and my company is Beardedman Ireland. We're like a bespoke woodwork company. We kind of have gone through a couple of different variations, but now our main thing is we basically create products with corporates, with companies and with brands, and then we also have our own product range that we work on.
Great. How'd you get the name? Where did the name come from?
So basically, it's actually one of your later questions about the whole personal name or the brand. I did another business when I was a young lad, when I was a teenager, and that was my own name. I used to make guitars, and it was Cogan guitars, very personal to me and very kind of I had a lot of protection over the name and what we did. So then when I started this business, I was like, you know what, I wanted to be a bit separate and have the company become its own kind of standalone thing and its own kind of and we have some plans now to make it its own kind of character type thing as well. So that's where we kind of split it up, and then the Bearded Man, sure, it faded. I've had a beard for a very long time, so it was the obvious choice.
Brilliant. So did you start off, did you study woodwork or wood or carpentry, or how did you end up getting into wood?
Basically, when I was a young lad, like 12 or 13, I really liked guitars, electric guitars, and had no money. They're really expensive, and like my dad would always be doing DIY and everything, was always into it. So I kind of started, Jesus, you know what, maybe I'll try and make one. And then the plan was to do it for the junior cert, and the teacher was like, nah, no, you can't do that. You wouldn't be able. And I was like, oh, lad, here, there's something wrong here. So I went for it, and I remember in transition year, I started making them. And then by fifth year, I was selling them, and then I was selling them, making them and selling them, doing repairs the whole way through. And I did my undergrad in science and Maynooth, and I think I spent most of my time either enjoying myself or else making guitars and working on guitars. And that's kind of where it all started from. And then the whole thing with the guitars was there's a lot of work in them, and I used to make, I don't know if you've seen the product, the bottle opener. So that I used to make them out of the waste timber of the guitar, and I give it to a customer as well. So you get your guitar and a few extra little bits, and then people are like, geez, I'd like to buy them. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's look into this. And then I realized they're way quicker to make, as in a guitar can take, geez, it could be 100, 150 hours for a guitar. A bottle opener isn't quite that much. So it changed into that. They were a product that I could do quicker. I kind of build it up that way, and then it ends up being its own brand. We don't do guitars anymore, but it's all our kind of own stuff now, which is fun. Wow,
that's incredible. So how did you figure out then making guitars? Because that looks incredibly technical to make a good good sound.
Like I basically learned completely off the internet. As in, like I remember I borrowed tools. So my dad had some. I got some of his friends I borrowed them off them. And I basically, like, there's a couple of forums online. That's where I learned, and I used to post there as well. And I'd be posting how I'm doing things, and people would say, "Oh, if you do this, you do that," and everything and stuff. You kind of learn by trial and error. That's the way. Even still now, that's the way. Like I've never done any sort of carpentry or qualifications or anything. I've never gone down that route. Even I did a master's afterwards, and I did that was in design innovation. It does apply a little bit, but it's not I've never done any practical work basically. I didn't even do woodwork for that even cert. I dropped it in junior cert for some strange reason. But yeah, I kind of self-taught is the way I do, and that's why even with the work that we do now, we do strange things that most of the people mightn't like to do because they're very weird. Everything is completely bespoke. Everything is completely different. We rarely make the same thing twice. We might do a run of 10 or 20 or 100 or 1,000 of a thing, but it's very rarely done twice, and they're all kind of strange. So I make them in my way that I think works, as in I might use machinery in a different way, or use kind of bring in sort of different different kind of opportunities and different machinery to try and make it, and that's worked quite well for us to date.
Wow, so you really are the quintessential maker.
Yeah, just kind of stuck in a dusty out shed. That's kind of my happy place. And if I have a beer in my hand, I'm even happier again. So that's where we sit.
Brilliant. So did you ever try anything apart from wood? Was it always why wood? Is it just that it's so flexible? And
yeah, I guess so. It's just, and it's accessible, I think, as well. And and like it all kind of stems from the guitars, really. That's where, and wood is the main component of that. I have done bits in metal. We do stuff at the Bearded Man in plastics, and we do so I have we also do metal stuff as well. But I outsource that. I've got guys down in Cork that do all that for us. I do for my own personal self, like messing around with different materials and stuff, but mainly wood is where I quite enjoy it. We've got a great network of people. We do great work, as in like, and even like the guys that I buy my timber off now, I was about 13 years of age, getting in there for the very first time. And then I went into them, I was buying like small little bits for cash, like 20, 50 quid type stuff. And then like, it's funny now, years later, I'm still going back there and it's still the same guy I'm dealing with. And I had a great experience the very first time. He was very sound about like pulling down big bales of timber for me to buy one little plank. Whereas now we buy an awful lot more, and it's kind of fun. So I quite like the world around wood as well. There's good people in it, and it's fun.
That's incredible. So he's obviously seen the average order quantity go up quite a bit over the years.
He has indeed, and it's funny because I think like half the people I deal with think I'm half mad because like the Bearded Man is a strange name for a company name, whatever and stuff, and we go in out of places. And like I mightn't buy timber for 6 months, but I might go in and I might buy an awful lot of it. Or even with the everything we do it. We do a lot of it at once normally, and it's kind of strange. So I mightn't see a guy for a while, and then I go in and be like, oh yeah, can we get like literally a lorry load down? I need it tomorrow. And they'll always laugh and lots of a bit of crack, but normally they get a sort as well, which is great. It's fun. Like.
Well, that's brilliant. So, were you always self-motivated and driven, and like obviously the good drive, you know, to see through those guitars and all the rest. But so you were an entrepreneurial kind of young fella?
Yeah, I think so. I've always been into it. I've always been kind of doing my own thing and kind of hacking about the place and making things and doing things and taking stuff apart. That's always been the way I've done it, and that's what I like. And that's the whole thing as well. When you work for yourself, you can kind of work on your own kind of basis, your own time and stuff. There's times it's very hard, as in like I wouldn't be the most motivated or driven man in the sense where I often leave things to the last minute for off under pressure, all that sort of stuff. But then it's nice to be able to chop and change, decide, as in like at fucking 10:30 a.m. on a Friday morning, I can take a bit of time out. I can have a nice chilled out morning. I can do this podcast or this call. It's great. As in, it's nice to have that flexibility, and I don't work well under standard 9 to 5 type stuff. It's never really suited me. Although I've never really done it, but also I know I'm pretty sure it wouldn't suit me. So it's I quite like that kind of the flexibility, and everything's interesting. And like I could change the business tomorrow if I wanted to, and I could stop doing wood and say, do you know what, we're a woodwork or we're a metalwork company tomorrow. Like we could just change, and that's kind of fun. There's lots of opportunity.
And so you obviously then decided that to completely change the business idea from guitars to custom items, and for you completely changing the product, completely changing the customers. So very commercial kind of decision there makes huge sense. Do you want to talk maybe about that decision making and how you kind of choose what projects and what to do next and things like that?
Yeah, well, like say with the guitars, like the market is the market. It's not the biggest in the world in Ireland here, especially for custom stuff. And I kind of decided then to like I have a core product range, and this is what we sell. The plan was as well to do my own kind of a standard in stock model of guitar, but kind of never really got around to it. So then we started with the Bearded Man. We started doing our own products, simple products, and selling them to shops. And that's what I thought of. Then, I'll get loads of shops, and we build up that way. And at one stage, we did have loads of shops. We did have a lot of the best ones, but it's just I found that very difficult. The wholesaling is quite difficult. It's quite tight margins and stuff. Our products are quite small. Even merchandising in shops, they're not they're all tiny basically. Like, and it's great for say when I'm shipping stuff abroad or anything. Like I can ship like 1,000 units in a small little box, which is great. But just and then I kind of got a bit, to be honest, I kind of got a bit like making the products is fun and everything, but it's like I wanted to do something a bit different. So then we started trying to do the custom stuff. And then what we started off doing initially was customizing our own products. So say like the bottle openers, if someone wanted a beer company wanted branded ones, say we did like stuff for the Wicked Wolf back then years ago. We did branded with their logos and stuff, and that was fun. We did a lot of that, but now we do full on custom stuff. So we do and we do kind of, it's much more collaboration based. So as in like when a customer comes to me, there's one that still come and say, oh, can we get 1,000 bottle openers with this logo? I'm like, okay, grand, that's no worries, but what else can you tell us more about the brand, and we can figure out something much more interesting that then sells better, that I have fun in making and doing something different. And then also it means you get a kind of a bigger, hopefully bigger returns, bigger orders, and bigger reorders. And then also it just kind of, it elevates kind of the whole experience. As in like a lot of our customers, like we went from having an awful lot of customers that were probably not the biggest customers to having fewer customers now, but they're quite, some of them we work a lot with. which is kind of fun. And I like the whole chopping and changing, the different things, the challenges, overcoming, people come and being like, oh, we've been trying to get this done for a few years and no one could do it. And I'm like, oh, I'll figure it out. And it could be something very strange, or like we actually use lots of cardboard in some stuff. And we've got like a manufacturer that makes giant cardboard shoes for us for certain products. And it's all very weird and very strange, but it's a lot of fun. And that's kind of where we've kind of gone with it. People are spending more on their houses and are trying to do more. So it's in, that's been a huge kind of opportunity for us as well. And it's a lot of fun because it's very different stuff that I would have made with the other clients. So it's all good. Like,
excellent, that sounds great. But what exactly, or what maybe an example of what somebody might get you to create for their home?
So basically, we built a super high end kind of bar for a guy he's back in a room in his house and is in the back of the garden, and it was really stunning. Like, it was the best quality materials. We kind of kit out the whole room. We did lots of shelving. We did a giant redwood table. Redwood is like a massive tree that grows typically in California. This one actually grew in Dublin, and it was about 4.5 feet wide. And the piece of timber we got then was about 3 meters long. A stunning piece of timber we got from a friend of ours down in Wicklow that does timber, and it's just an incredible piece. It suits the house so well. The house it's in the city centre. It's very old. It just works so well. It's just stunning. And working on a project like that is super exciting, where it's like that piece now becomes part of the house. And even what's also kind of mad is that in the actual house, there's another table by another Irish craftsperson, far better than I am. But as in, I was kind of delighted that I'm I'm in the back garden, but still I'm close to his level, because his stuff is really incredible. But as in, it's kind of fun, and it's quite different. And like, even now, where the next job up is the decking, replace the decking. It's not quite as glamorous, but we're doing some really nice ideas with it, and we get like a lot of free reign to really change it up and make it work well, and put in really cool features that are kind of a bit mad and a bit cool. But it's kind of that's fun for us. It's a new challenge, basically. That's kind of, for me, basically, that's what I want. I want every job to be, geez, I actually want to do this. And that's kind of, we're lucky to be in a position now, especially after COVID. Like, it's mad. Like, last year was our best year in business, which is kind of hard to believe. And even this year, we've already hit last year's turnover, which is kind of nuts. But it's great now that I'm in a position where I can kind of pick and choose sometimes what jobs we do. And it means that they're the ones that we can do it really well. And there's so much, it's a better result for the customer, like, as in, whereas there was a time when I was starting out where I would have taken on every job, even though I shouldn't have, or I didn't have the time or whatever and stuff. As in, that's something that I kind of learned over the years. I think that having the break with COVID definitely gave a bit more headspace to think about it and be like, right, what do I actually want? Where is the end goal? And why do that job if I don't want to do, if I want to go over here, why do this? So it's kind of, it's kind of changed up a bit.
That's brilliant. And is there people that you look up to that you say, you mentioned there's somebody who's a great craftsman? Is there a great craftsman that you admire and that are really good at their work and then really good at building their brand? And what do you know, maybe? Yeah,
so there'll be a few, like that guy there, particularly Alan Meredith. I don't know him personally. I follow on Instagram. He does phenomenal stuff. But he's super high end. He's an artist. He's a proper crafts person, whereas I'm a hack in a shed compared to that. But there is some people that I do look up to, as in like I remember I met the guys. I was lucky when I was doing my masters. I had to interview. I did my masters basically, and my thesis was about crafts people in Ireland and stuff. And I got to interview lots of interesting people for that. And two guys, or one guy in particular, the guys down in Carvan who in Kildare, they do leather work, but they are absolutely phenomenal. Like, I have lots of their stuff. My wallet is Carvan. I bought lots of stuff. I buy for gifts a lot. It's phenomenal stuff. The ethos of their company, how they run it, how they carry themselves and their company and their staff. I really like that. As in, it's more to it than just the products and that. The story is amazing. Their workspace is phenomenal. And I was lucky. I went down there for a half-hour meeting for my thesis. And I think I was there for 6.5 hours, I think. And I got the full. I learned so much from them, and they're phenomenal. They're something that I've met them since, and what they do is pretty incredible. And also then the likes of, like, I quite like coffee in my own life, whatever and stuff. And like the likes of like Colin Harmon, 3FE. Big fan of his book is phenomenal. What I Know About Running Coffee Shops. It's one of these things that's very specific, but also it applies to lots of things. And he really breaks it down very interestingly, and about how there's so much more to what the final product is than what people actually want and stuff. And or even like I said, I read one of the founders of Starbucks, his book and stuff, and how like they went through that mad period in the early 2000s where for no reason whatsoever they closed every single shop across North America. For 6 hours to retrain staff, which is mad. Like 2,000 shops, or I don't know how many thousand shops, they closed every single one at the same time to retrain staff because they were losing their I don't know, their je ne sais quoi, whatever it is that people weren't, they were kind of losing out and stuff. But I think that's quite interesting. That's what I like to that's what I'm trying to do anyway now. It's whether I'm getting there or not is trying to add to it and be more than just like the products we do. They are the best. We try making the best with the best quality. They're sustainable. We use lots of Irish suppliers, and we source everything kind of as best as we can. And even like the people we work with, we pay them properly. We're not like we work to be a good company in that regard, but also behind the scenes, we want to do more. We want to be more sustainable. We want to be able to provide more jobs, better jobs, proper jobs. We want to be able to kind of and kind of show off that ethos that I like in other companies, and I like buy off them. And we want to do a bit more of that. Like, as in, I think everyone works really hard for their money, and I absolutely love spending the really hard-earned money with really good companies. And like, there's lots of places that I'll drive, or I'll go if I'm down to Wicklow. There's a couple of coffee shops I like down there, and I'll always be in out. Actually, one of them just opened down the road from me here in Arnkey, which is great. But I really like supporting. They're like-minded people, and I don't know them, but I know from their brand that we're kind of there is an alignment there, which is kind of fun.
No, that's great. Is there any books, any other books that you, or podcasts that you like to listen to kind of keep up to date or get inspired?
Yeah, like I always say, I'll read more, and I have a stack sitting there on the ground, but I've never really got around to them. I'm not a reader. I don't do too well sitting still most of the time. But like the couple of podcasts I do listen to, especially the Irish ones, like there's Architects of Business, which is the EY one, and there's also All In by AB. They're kind of similar to this. They're just an interview with a business person, but I quite like them because they're very general. They're not too specific. Then you can learn a lot from different brands, and I think that's something that, like, I'm lucky that in the business now we've made lots of friends with different companies doing completely different things. But there's a lot of learnings you can get from them where there's very similar. And like, then we're not competing or anything. We often work together on things, but it means you get a lot from that. And I quite like them kind of interview where it's just like interesting people. You're listening to their thoughts, and it's kind of off the cuff, and it's just and that's kind of what I kind of go towards. And I've listened to some of the big kind of American ones like Foundry and the story of WeWork and everything. I don't know how much I learned, but it's a mad story, and that sort of thing. But as in, I definitely, the books is something I'm trying to do more. I actually have a Kindle sitting here behind the laptop that is dead and needs to be charged and needs to be used, but we'll get there in the days.
Yeah, and so tell me about your masters. So that was how much has that helped you through this business, and whether is it combining the design and then the commercial aspect, and has that been a help to you?
Yeah, definitely. Like, so basically I started the masters and the business within 2 weeks of each other, and which is probably not the greatest idea in the world. It was a stressful long year, but it was phenomenal. It was a really interesting masters. It's very different than most other masters. A great selection of people. Like, we had a very even spread of 20, 30, 40, and 50-year-olds across the course, and some great lecturers and everything. And I did learn a lot. I think what I gained from it the most is kind of how to position and how to design and how to kind of sell in a way, is in where it's like we did lots of presentations and stuff. So now when I'm meeting customers, if I'm pitching, I'll have a pitch, I'll have a deck, I'll prove it to them, and I'll show them why this will work and why do this and everything and stuff. I think that's helped a lot. And even like just different language, and even just confidence in, because before that, like, I did my undergrad in science there, but there's no such thing as presenting or chatting to people. And it's always been something I'd be kind of able to do, but doing it on a much bigger scale. Like, we did some projects with like huge big companies and stuff, which is very exciting, and we had to present to them and stuff. And like and that is kind of I think I learned a lot through that, is in how to show off and how to get your point across, and how to the language around it, I think. And then also just from like, we did lots of stuff for like business models and stuff as well in that course. You learn about different companies and how they did things. So I try and use a bit of that myself in what we did. And even just, I think one of the things as well that I got a lot from it is the people on the course. I learned a lot from them because they all came in with loads of different experience. There was no one with a similar background at all in the course, which is great, because then at lunchtimes or working on projects, you're learning a lot off them and learning kind of how they and their experience and stuff, which is good. And like, I'm still friends with a lot of them. We still meet up a couple times a year for a few beers, not during COVID, of course, but then we still do the old awkward Zoom calls with a few beers. But it's good, it's fun, and then it's like they're kind of a good network to have, and I think that's been great.
Brilliant. And so, if you were to give advice to the younger Conor coming up, kind of any kind of tips on getting started and getting ahead and just trying to get going?
I think this is a question that it depends on what day or time of the week you ask me. It changes a lot. At the moment, I'd probably I kind of started slow and built slow, and there is a huge benefit to that. But also some of the, I think I should have kind of gone hell for leather and really give it a shot. And that was kind of what we did. Like I actually left and I went to Canada for 6 months. While I ran the business, I still ran the business while I was away. It was not easy, but it actually worked fairly well, to be honest. So I was over there for 6 months, and while I was there, I did a lot of work on the business, on myself, and like, what do I actually want to do? Where are we actually going with this? What is the end goal? What's possible? All this sort of stuff. And I came back then, and like just before Christmas in 2018, and 2019 was like, right, we're going for it. This is the year. We're really going for it. I mean, we went for it. It was our best. We did really well. It was brilliant. And then we lead into 2020. We were like, right, this is going to be an absolute. We're going to blow it out of the water. And then COVID happened, but still, we actually did kind of blow it out of the water, which is great. As in, sometimes I think that I kind of did the first couple of years. I kind of just kind of in and out and stuff. But I guess like I was doing the masters. I was learning a lot. But then sometimes I kind of like, maybe I should have kind of gone for it. And even I think build up the confidence. Like as in, we're lucky that a lot of the orders we get, as we get them, now this is the biggest order we ever got, and then the next one, this is actually the biggest one we've ever gotten, and it's kind of hard, and there's some jobs where I've actually had to say no to. It's like, look, it's too much too soon, but then it's like trying to build up the business and build up what we have to be able to tackle these big jobs, because some of them are massive. Like some of the quotes you've sent are huge. It's in like, if I ever got to, I'm like, geez, I can't. How am I going to do this? Like, but but that's quite exciting as well. But it's kind of trying to build it up to that to kind of just say yes to everything. Kind of is what I kind of do, and as in like I think that's one bit of advice I'd say. I probably should have gone for it a bit more and just pushed a bit harder maybe to start with certain aspects, the stuff that I really wanted, pushed a bit harder, because we got them. I mean, we did get them, which is great. We still have them, but then I probably could have gotten a bit sooner, I think, anyway. But look, that depends. There's other times then like, oh, don't even go into business, get a job and do that. As in, it does vary, and I think that's what most kind of entrepreneurs or people working these kind of funny, weird jobs, that it there's ups and downs, and then once it all balances out, that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, great. And where do you see it going? What kind of vision and dreams have you got now for the next few years?
Yes, that's kind of the burning question at the moment. With COVID, I thought we'd be not doing very well at the moment, and we're very lucky and very fortunate and super grateful that we are. It's been great. So at the minute, we're looking at, like, we've actually closed our website for our own products at the moment. We're looking at what way we can kind of incorporate some new stuff and do that, because I do want to bring. I do love the work on our own stuff. That this is the Beardedman's creations and stuff, and we have some opportunities there we want to work towards and build that up. And then we also want to build up kind of the corporate stuff that we're doing and just kind of make it much more like we're built up. Like we've brought on a lot of new equipment the last few months, so our skills, our abilities are much higher now. So we want to be able to better deliver to our customers with them, which is great, and just kind of build it up that we can kind of get, like, as in, like, what I'm trying to do now is that, like, a lot of the times it happens with my business. I don't know if this is a general thing, but definitely with me, and I think it's just good. It's probably down to me though, is in that we've peaks and troughs. The peaks are huge, the troughs are huge, but it's a case where I'll be 2 weeks say, and I'll be getting all the orders, and we'll get them all, and it's great. But then once I'm making the orders, I'm not getting any new orders. So that's the way the business runs. It's grand, it's manageable, like, but it's kind of like I kind of want to build up that we're kind of constantly at an even keel, because it's a bit easier to manage, because it's hard to, sometimes stuff is very last minute. Like, whereas now we're trying now to work a couple of months ahead of time at all time. So even like now when we do orders, they'll be sitting on pallets waiting to go, and it's like we'll store them and leave them sitting there, and then when the customer wants them, we'll, oh yeah, grand, tomorrow suit you. And that's what we're trying to get to. We don't always get there. We're often very far off the mark, but that's what we want to try and get to. And then also like the likes of residential stuff, we want to kind of build it up a bit. We're working with some cool kind of contractors on that, maybe, that we might be able to do some work with, and just really interesting products basically, and not the run of the mill stuff, and kind of and work that. Because I remember actually the meeting years and years ago with another brewery at the time, and he was kind of saying that, like, they were a one-legged stool where they sold to lots of off licenses. And I've done that independent off license, but that's great. Because in, like, if they stop selling your beer, all of a sudden you're going to fall over, because you're on one leg. You're already not very strong, so you're on one leg. Yeah. So then what they did is they got some supermarkets, and that was like the Super Value and stuff. Now they had two, and we're not doing too bad now. And then they also started buying some pubs and restaurant stuff. Now they got three, so now we're as stable as we'll ever be. If we lose one, we can still stay standing for a while. If we lose two, we'll stay standing for a little while, but we'll fall over. But then it's kind of like, that's kind of what I'm trying to do now, is that, so that we have got kind of the three prongs of the business, and that like, when COVID first hit, all corporate and residential didn't exist then, but all corporate stopped, whereas our website went through the roof, which is phenomenal. We put up one post. I think I've posted on Instagram since, but with that, it gave us enough revenue basically to cover probably two months of rent, which is pretty phenomenal, and 2 months of bills, which is phenomenal. So that we could kind of, like, it gave me the opportunity then to, I can sit back now and I know, right, no matter what's going to happen, I have 2 months here, so I can figure out what I'm going to do. Whereas a lot of businesses lost everything, and they had no way of getting any money in the door basically. And then they're kind of, so we're very lucky in that regard. But I want to try and work on them and see what more we can do with it basically. And like I got an email yesterday for a potential job that I didn't expect, didn't think it would work, or didn't think it's an even possibility, and that's come in. So then that's the fun thing about the business. We're quite agile, that we can change and chop and change as needed to suit customers and suit opportunities.
Great. And then is it expensive to buy like the equipment that you use? Is it a large investment? Is there much equipment involved, or is it chisels and hammers and saws?
No, like, so we use kind of a mixture. So we kind of use a mixture of kind of machinery, because a lot of what we do, it's production work as well. And that's what I like, is in like, right, it's one thing whittling away and making 10 of a thing, but trying to make 1,000 or 10,000 or whatever is different. So we use kind of a lot of machinery and a lot of handwork as well. So as in, what I try and do is I do the grunt work by machine. And so and I'm operating the machine most times, whether it's a saw or whatever, I'm doing all that, whatever. But then, like, say the likes of, or as our own products, our lemon juicer, most of it's cut in a saw, but the rest, the grooves, are done by hand. And that's because I really like doing them. It's really nice. I get a coffee and I work away in them. That's kind of fun. So we try and do the fun stuff by hand, and stuff that makes sense, because there's times that you can't. So as in, like, some of the equipment you have, it weighs more than a car and it's very expensive. Then other things aren't, but as in, we've quite an array of stuff, so we can tackle lots of problems and lots of issues and find lots of solutions with the equipment we have. And we're lucky, like, there's a crowd. We have a couple of different crowds that use machinery and even for kind of tools and everything, and we've got good relationships, so we often get good deals, and we kind of we buy when we can, and we buy for jobs and stuff. And then like there's a machine there, I think it's about 1,500 quid, and it's called a domino, festival domino. I don't know what it is. It makes these fancy little grooves. I got it for one job, and I did 6 of them, that was it. And an expensive machine to do 6 of them, of course. But since then, I've used it on countless jobs, and it made life so much easier and stuff. It's one of these things where, like, because we're kind of small and we try to do a lot of work, as in, if I bring in something like that, as in, it means that we get more time. As in, time is the value. That's the real expense to us, is time, because we're lucky that we're kind of in demand and that people want stuff and they want it quick. So as in, if we can get a machine or something in that makes it a bit easier or safer, and that's something that we'll definitely try and do if at all possible.
Brilliant. No, I love the story. I think it's I love what you're doing. It's brilliant. The fact that you're so adaptable and changing to all these times. Is there anything else you'd like to add, before we finish up? Anything? Your website address and things like that.
Yeah, so like our website is beardedmanireland.com. It's kind of sold out at the moment, but we'll have a new one coming up shortly, but it'll showcase a lot more. That's the one thing that we don't do. We don't do social media. We don't do any of that. Unfortunately, I know I should, and I know you've told me many times that I should. But it's a case where we don't showcase what we do. Most people don't know what we do, and that's why the customers we do a lot of work with them. But no one knows that we send out these products or these, and sometimes it could be van loads of stuff going out, and no one really knows. But that's something we will work on. So if you want to check out the website, you'll see a bit more about what we do. And that's kind of it then, really.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, Conor. I really enjoyed our chat. I love what you're doing. I think it's great, and I think everyone will enjoy following what you're up to now and seeing it grow. But for now, thank you very much, and I hope you have a fantastic day.
Thanks for the opportunity, Conor. Really enjoyed it. You're very good. Thanks a million. Chat to you later.
Cheers.